Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Uh, First, I'd like to thank Anthony Smith for this badass T-shirt. Angie really likes it, man. I'm not sure how to get a hold of him, but he sells this merch, and of course, I got my Keep Scratching hat. I'm gonna have these available too. But he sent me a couple of shirts. So I'm gonna wear them for my vids, and it's a nice shirt, good quality shirt. The design is nice, and I appreciate it. Um, this next video, the question came up: how did you judge gameness in a family of dogs? And first, I want to say, uh, this is all historical value. It's for information, knowledge from the past. I don't encourage anything illegal. And one of the reasons we talk about old stuff is just it's part of the breed and part of what happened, part of what me and many other people were a part of at the time. Those days are long gone in the past. But if you're anything of a historian, or if you like the history of the breed, get kind of into the mindset of the way people thought and how they did things, that's another reason for these videos. So that's a little disclaimer. But, when it comes to gameness, there's a few things that are always said, which is a dog, one of them is a dog is either game or it ain't game, which is true. Other people will say there's different levels of gameness. Some will disagree. Uh, in that sense, uh, I would say there's different outcomes when it comes to gameness, depending on the situation. Maybe that would be more accurate, maybe not. Either way, it's always a big debate, and everybody has an opinion. And it's best if the opinions come from experience, and that's what I try to bring when I do all of my vids. If it's an educated opinion or uneducated opinion, I try and say that too. If it's my own experience that I had personally, or if it's an experience that I was involved in, or something I saw, I was there, I'll mention that. And so, gameness is that key word with the dogs because that's the basis for the breed, that's the foundation of the breed. So, in my opinion, or my way of doing it, or my observation, along with several other people that I knew that we, you know, shared the same standards or the same thoughts, feelings about it, when it came to a family of dogs, or you could say a bloodline, you know, there are some that quote unquote you could say known for gameness, right? Like red boy dogs or boleo dogs or the white dogs. And the reason they say that is because if you see enough of them or you had them, because most of those types of dogs weren't the bone crushing type, the quick finishers, their shows lasted some time. Some didn't, you know, like with the white dogs bullshit. He won in 19, he won an hour 9, he won in 2:33, and he lost in 1:54, something like that. Boleo himself went almost 2 hours, best in show. A lot of the Boleo dogs, 2 and 3 hour shows. The Red Boy is known for going long distance. If you want to say Champion Yellow John or Champion Toro, dogs like that. Within that, again, you have dogs being bred like that, or Jeep dogs also. A lot of them. Some of mine went over 2 hours. Jeep himself went 2 hours, and then the famous match 3 hours and 45 minutes with Homer. You know, uh, within that, if someone keeps that standard of gameness within their family of dogs or within a particular bloodline, it's going to be in there, and it may not dominate, but you might have what you would call game dogs more so than in other bloodlines. That doesn't mean that a lot of them dogs quit too, because they did. But with some other bloodlines, you know, they I'll say this: some hard biting dogs or hard biting bloodlines, in my day at least, were more apt to quit than other bloodlines like the ones I mentioned. And in my opinion, you know, I wrote a little bit about this in the book, in my new book. In my opinion, it's because the fact that those dogs quit didn't mean that they were cold. Because of their ability, because of their hard mouth, because of their strength and power, a lot of people would ignore the fact that they quit and kept them and keyed on other traits. Now, I wouldn't do that because with me, it didn't matter if a dog quit. I didn't breed it. You know, other people did. In fact, there's a story that went around during my time. Kenny Gaines, he's an old time dog man. Rest in peace, Kenny Gaines. He's passed on since. But his dogs were known for being hard biters, very hard biters. But as in his own opinion, he wasn't that concerned with gameness. Now that doesn't mean he didn't have game dogs. He did. You know, Fargo would be one of them. But uh, that wasn't first and foremost in his thought when it came to matching dogs. He made a statement one time where, you know, hey, if you last 30 minutes with me, you're probably going to win. Sometimes that was true, sometimes it wasn't, but I can guarantee you a lot of his dogs won in that 30-minute mark. So, you know, when it comes to breeding dogs, you have all these factors, but the way I judged a family of dogs was with stats and percentages, as much as I could get in my own, in others people's, which is hard to do because nobody keeps stats and figures and percentages on a whole of their dogs. You have people that remember all the times they won and all the impressive victories, and they don't even want to think about their losses. You have other people that can't remember all the good wins they had, but those losses stick in their craw. They remember those, you know. So for me, it's an overall picture of a family of dogs. You know, does that guy have game dogs? Is that bloodline, does it follow that pattern of being known for gameness? Do you have a higher percentage of dogs when they lose? Did they quit or not quit? And there's, you know, like I mentioned before, you know, people talk about levels of gameness. Now, this is something that I thought about a long time ago, and I always kept it in the back of my head. It wasn't only did the dog quit or not quit, but if you call that dog game, how did he display that? What made you feel that way? Also, if a dog quit, how did it quit? Because for me, there's a big difference. There's a big difference of, did they quit rank? Did they quit in short time? Did they quit from taking a little bit of pain? Did they quit when they ran a little bit hot? Did they quit when they got a little bit tired? Or did they endure that pain? Did they ignore it? You know, did they recoup from running hot and get back into play and continue on? Did they you know, work through that frustration? You know, a lot of different factors, but it's how they quit that concerned me as well. Did you have to take everything out of them before they quit, or was it just they get in a bad spot and they're done and that's it? Did they jump out? Did they quit on top? Did they not show finish and just worry the dog and mess with them? Really didn't go in for the quote unquote kill. Again, I'm talking about the past. Was their die hard, never give up attitude? Did they have that? Did they have that killer instinct, that finishing mindset of, regardless of what's happening to them, they think they're winning? Whether they're winning or losing or any other factor involved, did they feel in their mind that they're winning? Can you see it in their eyes? Can you see it in their body language, in their attitude? Can you see it how they take hold and the spots they go to? For me, all that is part of gameness too. It's not just getting hurt, laying around, getting beat up and slammed, you know. And that's impressive for a dog to take that and come back from that. Some dogs take that and can't come back from it. So you have to decide at that point, did he quit, or was his mindset still in there that he felt he had a chance? Or did he have that mindset of where I don't care what you do to me, I'm not going to stop? And there are dogs like that. They're rare. Not everybody has them. And it's like I mentioned before, when you look at my pedigrees, the dogs I use, there's no dogs in it that quit. I never say all them dogs were dead game. All them dogs were extremely game, or some of them were. But if I say a dog in my pedigree that I bred didn't quit, you can guarantee that I saw something out of it to make me think that that was a game dog. Taking all the factors into consideration, and judging them, and also getting feedback from the people that were there, the people that admired my dogs, or the people that saw them, and even with that, you're going to get different opinions, you know. Uh, with some people, they have a mindset of they don't care what happens. If the dog don't make a count, he quit. That ain't true. If a dog can't scratch, he quit. That's not true either. So, if you have the experience and you've seen enough of them and had enough of them, you know which dog quit and which didn't. And because you're there and you saw it, you know under which circumstances they did or they didn't. You can make the claim or the argument that any dog will quit. I won't disagree with it, but I will say this: there's some that didn't. So if you want to put on a dog, well, if this had happened, or I put 10 dogs on him, he'll quit, if he'd have made another scratch, come with the scratch again, he would have quit. Well, if he hadn't have died, he'd have quit. This and that. Anybody can say anything. The fact is that some dogs didn't, and they wouldn't. And if you don't know gameness, then you don't know what you're looking at. On the other hand, you have some that dogs, they picked them up because they were going to quit, or they made a funky courtesy scratch, or a slow courtesy scratch, or a different kind of courtesy scratch, or they weren't focused. They didn't have that intent, that killer instinct, that finish. People will call those dogs game too. They're not. Some will hesitate and then scratch. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a game dog just because they made a scratch like that. It's the intent of the dog that mattered to me. What was his mindset at the time? From my experience, what am I looking at? So a lot of dogs were called game that weren't either. So that's how I kind of judge a family of dogs. Because in all those dogs, that families of dogs or bloodlines that are known for gameness, you still have a lot of them that quit. But the what they display, if those traits are held true in the breeding program, they display the same type of heart. It's that dogged, determined, never say die attitude. It's the fact that they think they're winning. It's regardless of what's happening to them, they think they're in it. They're going to get their opponent no matter what. And it's impressive. It'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck or on your arm. It'll bring emotions to you that you may thought you didn't have. Or you may ask yourself, why am I having this kind of feeling? Because that's what that type of gameness brings out. But with other bloodlines that I'll just, from my book, I mentioned, a lot of the bully son dogs back in the day quit. And I give the reasons why. But I also give examples of game bully son dogs. There were a lot of those too. And there were a lot of those where you had to take everything out of them before they quit, and or you had to push them to the limit and they didn't quit. And that can be said with any bloodline. So speaking to that point, that what that tells me is that you can have gameness back then anyways. You could have gameness with any bloodline. You can improve on it just like you do with any other trait. It's just the hardest trait to improve on. It's the hardest trait to retain, but it can be done, has been done. And as long as the pit bull is around in other countries where it's not illegal, it will be done. Regardless of what that paper says, regardless of their lineage. It's up to the breeder to keep that standard. It's up to the person uh, using dogs, keeping their family of dogs, breeding them the way they want to either keep that standard or not. And that's one of the reasons I didn't make excuse for dogs. I didn't have no bad feelings for dogs that quit. I didn't hate them. I didn't chastise them. It's just part of the nature of the breed. And that goes with anything, any sporting animal or human that's involved in work or sports. You have these different types of displays of gameness in what they do. It's just that we as pit bull people consider them the gamest of all because it's a one-on-one confrontation, it's combat, and it's played out till the end. So when I went into certain people that had dogs that were known for gameness, I was cognizant of that. If I went into certain people that hard mouth mattered to them more than anything, I was cognizant of that. Or smart dogs, or head dogs, or stifle dogs, or good wrestlers. You know, a breeder has a preference with structure, like I mentioned in the other video, with style, with ability, with air, with all these factors that are involved in a in a working sporting animal. So those animals are going to be a reflection of him. And if a person who's a breeder or competitor in my day had the reputation of having game dogs, then more often than not, that's what they would bring to the show. If one had a reputation for having very hard biting dogs that weren't known for their gameness, that's probably what he was going to bring. The hardest ones to beat are the ones that have high ability, including mouth, air, speed, power, whatever it is, with that gameness. And you don't see it every time, not even with someone who has that reputation, but more often than not, that's what you're going to see, and you're up against that. So that's why I've mentioned before, I liked an all-around dog, meaning dogs that could do a little bit of everything, rather than a specialist, put it that way. Because with an all-around dog, in my opinion anyways, and with my dogs, you have a better chance of being in the win column than the loss column. Because an all-around dog can set his pace, force his opponent to do what he wants them to do. He's got the air to go distance. He's got the power and the speed to go short. He's got enough mouth where he can end it early. He's got finish where if he has him in that position, he's going to finish him. And whereas, you know, maybe a head dog, if it gets rough, he doesn't know what to do about it, or he doesn't have enough counter to that rough dog. Or a rough dog, if he has a smart dog on him, he doesn't have a counter to that. So you can get yourselves in spots. I never really was of the mindset where, you know, I want my dogs a certain way, and I don't care if they go distance. I want them to finish quick and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys like that and had great success that way. But, everybody wants their dogs to finish short if you can. Most everybody, not everybody. But if you have to go the distance, regardless of the circumstances or whatever situation is, you should be able to do that. Other people didn't care about that hard mouth and this and that, and distance was their fight. Some people that had that mentality, they didn't think they were in the fight till an hour mark. They got to that hour mark, they're good, man, because in the next hour they're going to pull ahead, they're going to win, and the next hour after that they're still there. Now you don't see a lot of those, but shows over an hour for them, hour and a half, 2 hours like that. That was their forte. That's where they lived and breathed. You know. So just like boxing, which I'll do a video comparing boxing to dogs too. You have all different body types, all different structures, all different types of ability, height, weights, different weights, people from all over the world competing, different sized people, and different ethnicities. It's kind of that way in the dogs. You have all this involved of people from all different, uh, you know, uh, areas and all different stations in life and education and whatever it is, and uh, uh, using different bloodlines and different uh, families of dogs. So I've been around a lot. I've seen a lot. And I got to the point where over a period of years, I'd go to a show, and for example, maybe I seen this guy's dogs when I first started out. 10, 15 years, 20 years later, same family of dogs, they basically have the same traits. So if they were known for quitting, hard mouth or whatever, but quitting, over a period of time, I kind of saw the same thing. If they were known for gameness, over a period of time, you kind of see the same thing. The best ones, like I said, had ability and gameness. And someone who knows what they're doing, over a period of time, you see the same thing. It's not a surprise, when the dogs do what they supposed to do. Whether they win or lose, or and show heart, that family of dog, they're known for that. Whether they win or lose, have hard bite, but and other things, but they quit, they're kind of known for that. Because not everybody thinks the same, not everybody breeds for the same thing. So that's basically how I judged a family of dogs over time, including my own. You have to be honest with yourself, and you can't be kennel blind, and you can't make excuses for your dogs. But that's it's a judgment call, it's an opinion, but it should come from experience. So hope you like this video. Contact me for Merc, and feel free to comment. Thank you.